Ice Cube, a kid who crawled from South Central's bloody ruins. From unknown to hip-hop king, every performance he does is sold out. Unfortunately, Ice Cube started over in 2025. Betrayed, prevented from broadcasting, unanswered calls, contracts gone overnight. Everything was clever and ominous, like an unseen hand of power trying to remove the king's name from American entertainment. The public regarded it as retiring, but he was going through his worst days. A legend dies in the height of fame because he broke an entertainment industry taboo. Now pay the price. Fasten your seatbelts, because what's about to be revealed will change everything you know about Ice Cube and Hollywood. Part 1. South Central Los Angeles boy, 1970s, 80s. Many consider it the American dream. Ice Cube makes nice suits a nightmare. South Central is famous. 50 attics fit in 10 square meters. Their poverty wasn't worst. The scary issue is that talking or gazing at the wrong person might end tomorrow. A country where kids wander aimlessly before they can talk. When kids must learn survival every day after school, who will teach a child about the future? Who still believes in dreams when the neighborhood only hears emergency sirens? O'Shea Jackson was born in a Westmont cottage in 1969. Within his order, without mess. Your father, Hosea Jackson, tended lawns for UCLA's rich, whom he was never allowed to dine with. Doris, his hospital worker mother, believes discipline is the best way to protect her son from the world. The Jacksons were poor, but had hard-working ethics. Avoid problems. Don't catch notice. Dinner is always quiet. Only cutlery hitting plates, the clock ticking, and a suffocating silence. Fear is in every breath, but rarely discussed. When my father avoided strangers, my mother gripped the door latch tightly to warn him not to stay outdoors too long. Every school-to-home trip is a survival test. Cube learned to walk quickly, bow, and act invisible. Because a wrong look may kill him here. The world hates you without reason. Skin color suffices. He kept quiet not because he was terrified, but because he knew his words would be meaningless in a world where people only use their fists. Too much endurance can ruin a person. Living in a quiet house and neighborhood made Cube feel like a shadow in an entire civilization that demanded silence. Father bowed. Mother prays. He watched out the window wondering when he would disappear. Living that way, what's the difference between death and having to look? Without notice, it happened. His sister. The family's only pride was in a street corner brawl. Not your fault. Going by while individuals need someone to complain to. A push. A scream. Then quiet. No girl was found by the police. Only another black skin was seen. All done. A corpse. A note. A report nobody reads. Cube stood and watched the funeral go, heard his mother's frenzied wails, and saw his father, who had always bowed his head, collapse on the porch, and he stood bewildered and stone cold. Why keep pure for years? How many times have I suppressed my fury and bowed for what? Why all the advice to avoid attention? Now that they can punish your sister for a petty quarrel, who will kill her? Who will recall her? Who will repeat her name in a city that shrugs and moves on? Person vanishes. Society changes its buttons and starts over. The gloomy room held the Cube that night. His hand shook, the paper tore, and the pen snapped. He kept writing. Writing to pay off debt has replaced writing to survive. Contacting you. Written for those swallowed and forgotten. Every word he writes pierces me. It hurts but is real. He wrote without instruction, yet he knew how to hit a just nation's lies, prejudices, and indifference. When the pain was too great to cry, he wrote. One day, my classmate read a Cube-written paper aloud in the schoolyard. The gang froze. No one laughed or spoke. When everyone nodded, Cube knew he had found a means to counterattack. After that, the pages were no longer for venting. Become weapons. A frigid, loud voice came from a modest South Central residence, and no one dared ignore it. Not speaking up. Ice Cube's first detonation. A youngster who endured long enough to make agony something the world would admire. Part 2. Fire meets system. No paper can contain fire. No paper can properly reflect a soul's buried emotions after so long. Every word was like a coal heating up. His inner fire grew as he wrote, and sought to extinguish it. Cube realized writing wasn't enough. Need something bigger and louder. Something so loud no one can ignore. A place where rage lasts. A location to contain himself and the neighborhood's fury. A location called music. No confession or plea of guilty here. Let go of yourself and the world that damaged you. Music is his only freedom, from which he might escape his childhood trauma. Ice Cube felt alive for the first time. For no money, no fame, and to finally speak what he had to swallow his whole youth. Cube got music as an explosion, not a gift. It came from poverty, injustice, and unheard cries. Cube emerged from the little chamber where he wrote to survive. He was no longer the peaceful South Central lad, but a man with a passion that might burn down the nation's lies. Words become drumbeats here. Anger became song. Only two options exist. They either ignite or extinguish. Despite knowing that light is consumed, Ice Cube burned brightly. Learned to rhythmize words and musicize rage from the first group, CIA Cube. It was only the precursor. Soon after, he, Dr. Dre, and Eazy-E created N.W.A., subsequently known as the Earthquake from Compton. They don't sing about parties with Cube as songwriter. They sung about police violence, poverty, and bleak South Central Los Angeles black life. America changed after Straight Outta Compton was released in 1988. Press dubbed them a social threat. FBI sent a warning letter. Compton residents cranked their speakers to maximum volume. They heard their voices in the music for the first time. Those rap lines are confessions, not resistance. Seeing what deserves to be heard as a sin would infuriate anyone. Who wouldn't quiver when a song shakes society? Cube's not only musical. He represents millions silenced. Hip-hop ended then. It was weaponized. Cube watched the throng chanting his name from the small stage. Instead of a rapper, they see a fighter with a mic. Cube realized this was collective emancipation as they sung word for word. Writing gives a hushed generation a voice. Accept compromise if the world wants to. Cube doesn't. Cracks appeared in the end of 1989 when N.W.A. peaked. Wealth, power, fame. Who deserves more? Who truly made the group successful? Meetings become battlegrounds. Cold, alternating eyes. Rumors say Cube wants a greater percentage. Someone suggested stealing the center. Some murmured, he thinks he's bigger than everyone. No one knows reality. No one spoke. The soul of N.W.A., who started the fire, gently left just as the group was glowing brightest. Betrayal or self-defense? Did he depart for ambition or to escape music's filth? Has anyone considered that abandoning the light is often the only way to avoid being engulfed by it? Perhaps Cube knew he would be crushed by power and money if he stayed. Music is not negotiable for him. Souls are freed, not sold there. He didn't depart for wealth. He left to save what was left. With a wounded childhood, he nurtured art. If power taints art, Q will burn it all down and start afresh. In 1990, he released a Mary Kay Kaka's Most Wanted, his first solo album. Name itself declares war. Your lyrics are declarations, not curses. The media was confused by its power, but people cheered. Because of their voice. Angry, smart, and brave. Not merely a successful album. Ice Cube became a symbol of a movement that made hip-hop the forgotten bulletin rather than street music. They attempted to silence you, but they had to listen. Part 3. The burn behind the applause. Ice Cube was quietly, thoroughly, and intensely kindling another fire while the stage lights burned like a fire in the night sea. Now a roof heater, it's no longer a symbol of defiance. Marriage changed his music. Songs now address injustice softly, like the barrier he raises to protect his loved ones from the tempest he started. Your music used to rock the world. He writes songs to keep his life together. Cube remains a legendary rapper on stage. One man remained in the quiet house, his rage hidden under his shirt like a scar. He still entered the stage and heard the drums beating like a heartbeat. Another question arose in his thoughts. If I confess everything, will my child suffer? A man who previously yelled at the U.S. must now speak quietly. Do you ever feel like you're teaching your kids what you broke while teaching them right from wrong? The more I love, the more I fear, and the more he wanted to keep his home, the more he swallowed his heart's fire. Though rap songs previously shook the streets, he now avoids them because one hurried sentence can ruin the serenity he's achieved. His music healed the blade scar. He's a legend on stage, but merely a man who pours water, listens, and remembers not to speak loudly at home. The man who once lit up the streets with song is now worried that a spark would burn down his faith-based home. You said I don't want my kids to hear me shout about misery. They should see me battling for happiness. Cube changed his fighting style. Not outside, but inside our home. Being quiet. Silence doesn't mean submission. Silence is a silent battle where you keep your heart flame warm enough to light the road, but not so enormous to destroy. Every night, the globe slept soundly. Ice Cube sat by the window watching distant lights reflect on the glass. Street traffic rang like an ancient drum on a stage, fading rapidly and finally dying off. He sighed, laid down his pen, and realized his heart was still burning. Just altered shape. It now wants to warm, not burn. He closed his eyes and felt his family's and child's breaths and heartbeats. I realized that sometimes silence is the best way to fight, not to win, but to hold. He writes concealed daggers in every song, yet they only break what has to be defended. Cube balances music and home like a tightrope walker, between his job and family. Every move needs prudence. He doesn't regret it, but he knows that swallowing fire takes him further from himself. Peace often requires burying one's burning past. Even if I had to hide part of myself, that flame never died. The quietest moments were when Cube watched his son sleep, ate supper with his wife in the yellow light, and sat alone in the studio with a microphone. Song lyrics are yet to be sung. The world seems normal, but he can feel a storm inside. Cube understands his icon status endures. Sighs behind the microphone went unheard. Ignored his thoughts' mute questions. Have I been silent too long? Am I maintaining the flame? Am I hiding it? He kept quiet because he loved her too much to burn her again. Because I know a misplaced yell might ruin everything. Cube buries his fury in the quiet house. Father, husband, controlled fire. He still composes, but it's a shield now. Responsibility comes with every note. Every rap line restrains. He learned to love as never before. Lacking passion, devoid of intensity, only enough to warm him. On evenings like these, Cube watches the city lights reflect on the glass as the city grows quiet. Sees himself, man with a burning heart who has learnt to control it. His music is dazzling on stage but warm, heartfelt, and protective at home. That flame flashed briefly but was so real that no explanation was needed. Once a national sensation, Ice Cube now knows that the greatest success is keeping his heart's flame bright enough to guide people he loves. A theater legend and a simple man at home. Two worlds and flames coexisting without destroying each other. Cube lived, fought, and was because of that struggle. Part 4. A silent victory. Every revolution has a terrible contradiction. Light from the flame obscures the torchbearer. No one knows it better than Ice Cube. Speech and screams broke the stillness and made America listen. When the door opens, folks walk through without looking back to see who shattered it. No one needs to shout in the new world. Since everyone has a microphone, they tell their narrative differently. Young rappers speak up. Through the phone. Through TikTok. Through YouTube. They discuss freedom, justice, and reality. Cube had to fight police censorship and a system to say things 30 years ago. He recognized himself in every beat, rap lyric, and flash of wrath in that generation. He also noticed a difference. They spoke without comprehending speech anxiety. Rap is their arena for self-expression. Rap was his survival battlefield. Cube realized at that moment that the door he had torn down had become a passageway for others, while his fingerprints were obscured by time. Nobody betrayed you or wants to forget you. They're just pushing forward. He felt strangely empty, not because he was left behind. He realized he was useless in the world he created. He transferred the torch to others, and now the world is so brilliant the first torchbearer is unrecognizable. His aggressive, defiant music that directly challenged a system was once popular. He was their comrade, not a star, thus they liked him. Cube's music burnt in smoky, impoverished black neighborhoods. It is the heartbeat of the forgotten and the prayer of those who no longer believe in justice. Many others withdrew when he changed course and made his songs more somber. They missed the Ice Cube who once lived in harmony with them and ventured to utter things they only dared to think, not because they stopped loving him. He left his rap career after reaching its peak due to fate. The spotlight's merciless law. Brighter shine fades faster. That's not what the crowd wants. They want Cube to be fiery, rebellious, and uncompromising. They need the old warrior of South Central, who shouted for the abandoned black community, not a tranquil Ice Cube. Nobody understood better than Cube. He would burn himself if he continued fighting the old manner. And so the agonizing inquiries began. Was music betrayed? Did he just adapt to the world he stirred? Can a rapper evolve without losing rebelliousness? If silence is resistance, can the audience accept it? Slowly, his ups and downs became evident. Each album was a step down in fame. No longer explosive or provocative, just contradictory stillness. Disappointed fans. Where's our cube? How can you explain the man's presence? Just learning to breathe, speak, and live differently. Film arrived like a new entrance after the stage closed. Hood Friday Barbershop Boys Ride. Each film represents a new chapter in Ice Cube's life without shouting. He pretended to rap, using his eyes instead of a microphone. He tells the same story in every role. The one who truly comprehends minority fury, suffering, and pride. Some believe you switch careers too often. Some joke that he sold his soul to Hollywood. Has anyone pondered if a warrior can seek peace after the battlefield? Cube thinks he can survive in another role if he can't keep playing this one. He was a truth-telling rapper before becoming an actor, recounting, through cinema, pictures, and characters. He had flesh, blood, and agony. He knows that a voice can be heard in every gaze and stillness on screen, not simply in rap lyrics. Perhaps the audience has never realized that he is the same on stage and television. Music used to make him shout, but movies taught him to stay silent so others could hear him. In that silence, his voice became louder, truer, and more enduring than any scandal or gold record. Ultimately, Ice Cube didn't need a stage or microphone. He shouted so the world could learn to speak. When everything could be said, he chose silence. It wasn't because I was exhausted, but because I realized that stillness gives words meaning. Perhaps the audience will stop cheering. Radio stations may no longer play his music. Every hip-hop sound has a touch of Cube, who first made America listen to the truth. Silence doesn't kill. It shows that sometimes a voice's greatest success is not having to shout. That may be Cube's legacy. The transformation lesson, not the raps or roles. That only strong people prefer stillness in a noisy environment. Part 5. The Silent Fire. Not all fires need to burn, but some never do. They include Ice Cube. After years of seeking the light, he now just keeps his heart flame blazing to guide him. He overcame peak public opinion and hurdles that not everyone can overcome after dropping. Only one thing remains when everything around him quiets down. His honesty. Cube lives his own way at an age when many have settled down. No rush. No flash. No more proving. He won vocally once. The world once listened to him. He survived by being silent. The world changed. Rap altered too. But you remain. Maintaining your authenticity without charts or a stage. Keeping your name's roots. In conversation, he said, I don't need applause anymore. As long as I know I'm still me seems simple. But for someone who has lived their entire life in the spotlight and crowd cheers, it's a lifetime sentence. Because staying on top has never been simple at the highest. Once you've walked through that light, the biggest fear is losing your identity, not your reputation. He realizes his time is up. Every day, new rappers emerge. Rap music is exploding online. Anybody can speak. Anyone may be famous. Not envying or comparing himself. Just smiling, he watched the new world move. Because he knew he was part of its prepared course. Some will forget you, others never knew you. We don't need to recall the name of the person who opens the door as long as we walk through it. At 56, one thing is certain. Ice Cube's legacy is famous, even though his career is fading. Persistence, determination, and authenticity make legends, not fame or popularity. Cube remains a rock in a world where musicians fade after a few seasons of stardom. Not showy, but reliable. His tunes live on in an old automobile in a black neighborhood or in the memories of his rap fans. A language that previously expressed their anguish, pride, and resistance. He was asked, do you sense any loss? Cube smiled. The simple remark, I only leave behind what is no longer me, encompasses the life philosophy of someone who has achieved every level of fame. He has never lost the truth, regardless of game or outcome. Cube's music lives in memory, not the radio or charts. The father tells his kids stories about justice, honor, and truth, as a generation does. His music may not be played daily, but his legacy permeates culture. Simmering, but permanent. The quietest victory is that of someone who doesn't need noise or an audience to be recognized. According to Ice Cube, the truth doesn't need to be screamed, simply to last. This saying guided him throughout his life. He doesn't fight for recognition or try to establish his worth because he wants self-respect, which riches and time can't purchase. Cube rarely appears on TV or releases new albums, but his voice was always calm and forceful, transporting someone who has survived every storm. No need to teach or be angry. Being old enough to know that silence is sometimes the best advice. I'm sharing this. He advised saying what you believe and then being silent when others speak for you. Cube finds it serene, while others see it as a sign of decay. He no longer needed to win after years of fighting. Not betraying himself was enough. He needs no more medals, titles, or adoring audiences. Look in the mirror again and see yourself. The world may forget your name, but not your deeds. Because his true legacy isn't in rankings or stats, but in his silent impact on others. Younger generations may not realize it, but every beat they hear now and every rap they say started with a man who spoke out in a time when silence was safe. Was that fair? Perhaps not. Must it be fair? There's no need, since pioneers lived to pave the path, not to be praised. Cube left an echo in American hip-hop, which continues to evolve beat by beat, line by line, breath by breath. Once you burnt the world to be heard, now you keep a little flame. To brighten yourself, not others. Bright enough to recall, warm enough to believe I'm real. That may be the final win. No podium required. No need to applaud. Look back and know that you are still yourself despite all the changes. Integrity is a perpetual flame. This movie uses statistics, analysis, and commentary from the time of production. Content may vary and should not be considered a forecast. Much more to discover. Resilience, legacy, and truth. Type freely. You're seeing some of our favorite videos.